What's up, scholars? Welcome back to another video. As you can see from the title, today it is time. It is time for me to theorize about the Will of D. I am over halfway through the series now. I am currently, though my Marineford review will be next week, I've made it through Marineford. I'm almost done with post-war arc. The theories are thick. I have so many theories. I have so many questions as always. And I decided, since I was at this point, I was going to go ahead and collect my thoughts together and, kind of formulate an actual theory that I've been kind of working on and spitballing throughout my videos all the way up to this point in One Piece. But in order to theorize, I need specialist equipment. So, it is time to don my own tinfoil hat. It is wonky, it is not pretty, but it is a tinfoil hat, and it works. It gets the job done. Now I can theorize. So I have notes. I have so many notes because I went through all of my past videos to pick out the parts where I talked about the Will of D to see how it has changed over the course of, my time watching One Piece, what I started with, how it's developed, where I've really solidified it up to this point, so that I can make sure I am consistent with myself throughout my videos, and to see how wrong I was at the very start when we were first learning about the Will of D, because it's definitely changed since then, and I feel like I have a more solid theory now than I did when I first started, which of course, I've learned a lot since then. But there will be a separate video for my theories on the blank history and the One Piece itself, because I got a theory on that I am excited to share. But that's going to be in a separate video. I figured I should give each of these theories their own space to exist in, even though I will say I think it all connects. All of these threads, they are all connected and relate to the same exact thing. And I want to prove it, but I can't quite yet. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start theorizing. So, a lot of my current theory comes from the end of Marineford with Whitebeard's speech. His final speech about him reminiscing about talking to Roger. Okay, there's so much here. But yes, that speech plays a lot into my theory, my current theory. But before I get to that, I'm going to go ahead and kind of lay out all of my notes in order, get it all out, so we can talk about this. So, from what we've learned so far, the Will of D is not singularly passed down from one family because it has branched out to several different families up to this point. We have seen many people have the middle initial D, even though they are not related to one another. Like, and I have them all listed. Teach is not related to Luffy or Ace at all. Jaguar D Saul, the giant who helped Robin on Ohara, he is not related to any of them. He is a giant. There is more concentration on a single or double family line, like Goldie Rogers' line and Garp's line. Those seem to have a lot of pull on the Will of D because you have Garp, Dragon, and Luffy all with the middle initial D, and they're all bloodline related. And then you have Ace's mom, and Goldie Roger all have the letter D as their middle initial, and they are all bloodline related. So there is a lot of bloodline closely related people who have this will passed down to them. But then you get these kind of rogues, in a sense, with Marshall D. Teach and Jaguar D. Soul that are not related to either of those families. But Saul even admitted that has been passed down in his family for generations. So it is a bloodline for his family, but it doesn't connect to Luffy or Ace specifically. And Teach, we still don't know too much about his history. We still don't really know anything about his background. Or at least I don't, up to this point. I don't. I just don't like him at this point because of what he did in Marineford. We don't know if it's something that's been passed down through his bloodline or if it's something else. Or like we've seen him do, he like stole it, like he stole Whitebeard's power. He was able to somehow steal this inheritance, steal this will from another. I don't know. He's not the best person, so I could see him trying to do that. I don't know if it's possible. That might be just out of left field. I'm not sure. But I could see him doing that because he's absolutely a piece of crap. Let's try to find the nicest way to say that. So we have these families, these inheritors that aren't singularly passed down through one family. There's at least 3 to 4 that we know of at this point, that I know of at this point. But it does seem to fall through the bloodline, which leads me that it is quite possibly the will that came from a kingdom, because in a kingdom you have multiple families, you have multiple races, you have all these different types of species all together in one kingdom. If that's the case, then it would make sense for the descendants of the people from that kingdom to have it fall through their bloodline up to present day. Which leads me, that kingdom, aka the kingdom the world government obliterated and wants nobody to know about, the kingdom that is like forbidden to talk about, forbidden to research, just like the poneglyphs are forbidden to research, and there's a reason for that, which is where this ties into the world history part of One Piece. But because it might be tied to that history, the Will of D could quite possibly be the descendants of that fallen kingdom. What is that kingdom's name? We've kind of known, like, oh, it's this great kingdom, but is the great kingdom actually its name, or does it have a real name associated with it that we don't know about? And could that name possibly start with a D? If it does, that would bring more proof to my theory, because if in fact the Will of D is connected to this great kingdom and the kingdom's name ended up being starting with the letter D, then it would make more sense why the government hates those with the middle initial D in their name, because we see it all the time, even in post-war when Luffy goes back to Marineford and gets that picture taken, and the government officials and everything, after seeing that, they are saying it's always the ones with the letter D in their name. It's always them. So they've always been a problem for the world government. It's always been a thorn in their side. Why? Because they know something about the Will of D. They know something about the inheritors of it that could potentially endanger their power and their position. But it doesn't end there, because the Will of D is something that is already known. We've seen that Rayleigh knows what the Will of D is. We've seen that Roger and Whitebeard knew what the Will of D is. So it is a knowledge that can be known. It is a knowledge that can be discovered, which makes me think that those in the government absolutely know what the Will of D is, and that's why they are so upset whenever they keep seeing these people with the middle initial D in their name, because it has that connotation to it. But the interesting thing is that when Rayleigh talks about how he knows about the Will of D and the history, he knows both, which again is very interesting because he knows both of those, so they could both be related to each other. But what kind of puts a little bit of a hole in my theory is how Rayleigh says that you can come to a different conclusion. He said you could come to a different conclusion than they did, meaning maybe that's just meaning it's the same factual information, but what they chose to do with that information would be different than somebody else. Maybe. See, that's where I get hung up, because I'm not quite sure where he was wanting to go with that and what he meant by that. So that could be a possibility, that the information out there is related to everything, but depending on who gets that information, they can decide what to do with it. It might end up being connected to when Roger was on Skypia and these voices of the universe that he heard. Could it have been his ancestors that were wiped out? I don't know. But it could be connected to that. It could not be connected to that. At that point, that's where I'm still a little lost. That's where I'm still a little confused. My theory kind of gets a little wobbly when it comes to that part. However, because it's these voices of the universe, as we saw in Marineford, Kobe, I know he doesn't have the middle initial D in his name, but Kobe heard these voices, which we later discovered was his own type of Haki. So there are different types of Haki, as we've already known. Like, yes, it solidifies that there are many different types of Haki, but Kobe heard these voices in his head from everything going on around him at the war. So it could possibly also be connected to Haki, this willpower. And people seem to be drawn to those who kind of possess this Haki in one way or another. And as we learned in Amazon Lily, Luffy has Conqueror's Haki, the Haki of the king, and the granny even says he's a natural born king. Kings belong in a kingdom. I'm just saying, he's wanting to be the pirate king. Could be connected in more than one way. I'm getting ahead of myself. So there is a possibility that Haki plays some sort of role in the Will of D and how it kind of draws people in. But it is interesting. And I noticed this because we got the names of the other emperors that we didn't have before. So there was Whitebeard and Shanks that we already knew of, the 4 emperors. And then we got Kaido and Big Mom. Those are the 4 emperors. And it's very interesting to me that none of the 4 emperors currently have the middle initial D in their name. And none of the warlords have the middle initial D in their name. And nobody in the admirals, not vice admirals, the admirals and even Sengoku doesn't have the middle initial D in their name. So it's very interesting to me that all of these people who hold like the highest levels of power in this world at the time where I'm at, none of them have that inheritance. None of them have that special will, in a sense. I'm not trying to downplay any of their powers. They're all very powerful. But it is super interesting to me that none of them have that. Because you would think at least one of them would. Because even Whitebeard didn't have that. Even Whitebeard didn't have that. And that's shocking to me. I'm wanting to just put it all out there. I'm not sure how it connects to the theory yet, but it's interesting to me that Haki seems to kind of play a little bit of a role in it, and at least drawing people to others. As we've seen, Luffy has a way to draw people to him in any sort of manner. Like, he even got Crocodile saving his life several times in Marineford. He somehow, he impressed Whitebeard. He made the admirals think of him as a high priority threat that they needed to get rid of. He has a way of drawing attention to himself. He has a way of drawing people to him that normally wouldn't. Like even Jinbei, like Jinbei was originally just going along so that he could save Ace, but Luffy won Jinbei over because of how he carries himself, because of his own determination and his own will. I'm just saying, it's a possibility. It's a possibility. I'm not quite sure on that yet, but I did notice. And besides Haki, this theme of luck kind of plays into this a lot. I'm not sure how, but I've noticed that those who are really lucky, aka Luffy or Buggy, Buggy is super lucky on everything, but those who are really lucky seem to draw more people to them. I don't know how it works in, but I think luck is a big aspect in all of this. I just don't know how yet. I think because of some information we got from End of Impel Down, beginning of Marineford, Garp knows something. And I know Garp knows something. He has to. First of all, it would make sense because Garp is the only one in the Navy so far that I've met that has that middle initial D, and he directly raised Roger's child and Dragon's child. I mean, I know Luffy was his actual grandson, but he has raised two inheritors of this will, despite them having the blood of the two most atrocious villains in the world government's eyes. You have a revolutionary who's trying to take down this government, and then you have the former king of the pirates. And even though he's a Navy man, even though he is a vice admiral, he does it anyways. And though he tries to raise them to be Navy men, to be soldiers in the Navy, he slightly endorses them choosing their own path. Like when he finds out Luffy has, infiltrated Impel Down, and he's laughing about it. He's saying, "That's my boy." Even the only time he regrets it is when Ace is captured, and it's that situation where he doesn't really know how to navigate it. That's when he kind of regrets them not becoming Navy men. But other than that, I mean, he even left them with Dadan, a mountain bandit. So he knew they weren't going to be brought up on the straight and narrow path, in a sense, because of who he left them with. But he did it anyways. So I think Garp knows what the Will of D is. I think he knows the importance of Luffy and Ace. I think he knew their importance and was trying to protect them while passing something along. Because of his conversations he had with Roger, it's so convoluted, because I think Garp knows more than he's letting on, but he's not going to say anything, maybe until the proper time. And we've already seen this could be the big change. He's wanting to retire from the Navy. That gives him a lot of new options, a lot of new possibilities. I'm just saying it's possible. He knows. I know he knows. I just don't know how much he knows. So, with all of this out there, leads me to my final point, and it comes from Whitebeard's speech. And he's reminiscing on Roger's conversation, because Roger had told Whitebeard that he was gonna die soon. First of all, we get this mention of Raftel, which I'll talk about later. But when Whitebeard asks about the letter D in Roger's name, Roger tells him. And before he gets into the story, he even says, "A long time ago." When did the kingdom fall? A long time ago. I'm just saying, it could be connected. I think it might be. I'm just saying. So, anyways, after he hears this story, or reminisces over this story, he looks at Teach and says, "You're not him. The man Roger is waiting for is definitely not you." Just as there are some who inherited Roger's will, someone will eventually do the same for Ace. You can sever bloodlines, but their flames will never be extinguished. It has been passed down like that since ancient times. Someday, one will arise who will challenge the world and shoulder centuries of history. I'm gonna take a pause there. First of all, I mean, come on, are you kidding me? That holds so many connotations to it, so much information. And it begs the idea that this will is something passed down to either create a new age or to challenge the age that it is currently in, aka the age of the world government. And there is one who will stand up to that to shoulder centuries of history. And who do we know who could possibly do that? Who has an archaeologist from the town or from the island where all the archaeologists were studying that history. I'm just saying, like, it's gotta be Luffy. It's gonna be Luffy. But then this is where that theory really hits home with it being against the government. When Whitebeard says, Sengoku, you and the world government fear the great war that will come to this world one day. I'm not interested in this treasure, but when it's found, the world will be turned upside down. Someone will find it, the day will come. And then he ends it by saying the One Piece does exist. I mean, come on. First of all, not only does his speech kind of reignite the pirate era, but this begs the idea that this Will of D, the history, and the One Piece are all three connected to one another. And I am shook by that. I had a feeling, I had like a sneaking like hope and suspicion that maybe it was all tied together, but after Whitebeard's speech, I knew it all had to be connected. But I'm sure that this Will of D is something concerning bringing in a new age because of the inheritance that this will brings. It might be a power that it brings. It might be the actual Haki itself. It might be this will to maybe stand against the government. Because even Garp, in a sense, stood opposed to the government by willingly raising Ace and Luffy. And I know there are others out there. There's got to be more out there who have that middle initial D in their name. But I haven't met them yet. I'm just wondering how someone comes into possession of this will. But I think those who have it are blessed in a sense with this will that allows them to draw others in, to inspire others around them, and bring about a new age. What kind of age? It varies. Maybe it could be a sense of justice. It could be piracy. It could be bringing about history. It could be uncovering history. It could be a lot of things. But I firmly believe that the Will of D is connected to that ancient kingdom that was lost. And because of the way Whitebeard framed it, what if Roger made it to that final kingdom? No, because that would mean that it's Raftel. Nah, that can't be right. Because it's something that can be discovered. It is something that can be... It's something out there. But my last pea-brain theory here. I have a theory about Doflamingo, which kind of relates to the Will of D. Doflamingo does not have the middle initial in his name. But I'm wondering, because of how he was acting in Marineford, and his speech on justice really brought this theory to my mind. Is he wanting to bring about an end to this will of D to create his own will of justice? To usher in his own era without having to be bothered by this inherited will, to bring an end to this era in order to start his own. Because it also reminds me of Bellamy back in Skypia, how he was talking about the era of dreams, like pirates having dreams and everything, like all of that was over. And because Bellamy is on Doflamingo's crew, and he still is, he got that second chance, maybe, I think he did. But Doflamingo has that same kind of odd ideology, ending the age of dreams. So the Will of D maybe has this dreamlike connotation to it because of how the kingdom was destroyed, and maybe it was their dream for their descendants to bring about a new age without the world government or something of the sort. And because Doflamingo didn't inherit this will, maybe he wants to end it and destroy it to start his own. I don't know, but some of the things he was saying in Marineford was really messing with my noggin. It got me thinking. But yes, that is my current theory on the Will of D. There's a lot out there about the Will of D so far, but as much as we have on it, we also absolutely know almost nothing about it. That's why the theories are here. But that is my current theory. I think it has to do with this will passed down from the kingdom. And I have some evidence to support that. Whitebeard's speech was definitely a big help to me in my theory. He's an absolute legend. But I'm so curious to know more, because the way the world government is so afraid of someone emerging with all of this knowledge and to find the One Piece just makes me so excited to see what's going to happen. I'm very excited. I'm very, very excited for this. So, with that being said, what do y'all think of my theory? Is it so far left field that y'all don't even know where I got this? Is it even possible? You think I might be on the right path? I'm not sure. I think I have at least a solid theory at this point. The more information I get, the more this theory will probably adapt and change. I might be so far wrong that when Oda finally reveals what this all is, y'all are gonna laugh at me and I'll laugh at myself. But until that point, I have hope that I could possibly be right. So I'm just going to hope that I am. That's my theory on the Will of D. Let me know what y'all think of it down below. If y'all have your own theories on what this Will of D is, let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear more theories about what people think it is. So that is all for this video. Be on the lookout for my Marineford video coming out next week, and then the week after that will be yet another theory video. We'll be talking about the history. We'll be talking about some connotations of the history that we've been given little tidbits of. So there will be more theorizing in the future. I hope y'all are looking forward to it. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. It was fun for me to make. I love theorizing and kind of trying to put all these puzzle pieces together because there are a lot of them. So thank y'all so much for watching this video, and I will see you next time, scholars. Bye!